West Louisville Economic Summit. And we're glad to have you all here, ready to get started in a few seconds here. So make yourself at home, get around someone that you don't know so you can engage and get to know someone new. But we're excited to bring around the topic of peace and prosperity, and how that mingles together to make our society better, okay? So basically, my name's Herbert Johnson. I'm the master of ceremony for the day, and looking forward to a pleasant day of learning about what we do in the community to enhance a better community we live in. On behalf of Louisville Central Community Center and the Rotary Club and our sponsors and partners, we welcome everyone to our campus. This is an epic center, which you all see, all know about. Those that haven't never been here, take your time and take around, take a look at what we do, and this venue is really nice. It's got a lot of opportunities for businesses in the community. So with that said, let's get started. We have our invocation to get started, and our invocation will be done by LCC board member Floyd Smith.
Good morning, everybody. Let us have a word of prayer. Thank you. Our most gracious Father, we want to say thank you this morning for this opportunity. Thank you for the foresight of having a summit that would express what we need is prosperity, the peace that we need, all these things that are going on in our country right now, oh God, that is dividing us. Let us have something that would unite us, oh God, and continue to work together one with the other, knowing that we all need one another in order for this world to work. So Lord God, we just want to say thank you for LCCC, who has come together for the 9th time to put on this Economic Mobility Summit. And thank you for the leadership here as well. And Lord God, continue to bless those who have come out to actually learn and see what mobility is all about when it comes to economics. So Lord God, we just say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for everybody that is here, everybody that are on their way, and when they get here, blessed as well. Continue to bless us, keep us in the arm of your care. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray and we ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Floyd, for that invocation. I'd like to spend the next seconds recognizing our leader at LCC, President and CEO, Kevin Fields.
Thank you, Herbert, and good morning, everybody. It's great to look out and see this assembly this morning. I just checked in with our team and found out that we should have this room packed with at least 70 people, but I believe our community might be sleeping in on this beautiful Friday morning, and we expect the room to fill up as the day goes. But as Herbert said, I'm Kevin Fields. I'm the president and CEO of LCCC. And I want to welcome you here to the 9th annual West Louisville Economic Mobility Summit. This event for us is a part of a 3-part series that we've taken on as a part of the agency's strategic plan to mobilize and engage our community in accordance with our portfolio of direct services, being early child development, being school-age youth empowerment, as well as adult economic mobility. And our goal is to bring our community together to address critical issues that we know we need to see a breakthrough on. And there's none more important than economic mobility or economic empowerment. And over this journey of the past 9 years, and I'm looking forward to next year, that'll be our 10th year, that's a big milestone. But over the 9 years, we have touched on a wide range of issues, from the basics of what gets in the way, what are the barriers to economic mobility, whether families need help with support services, with training programs, the whole gamut, everything from dealing with substance issues to workforce skills. We've touched on it. We've also explored workforce development needs. Our economy goes up and down in terms of workforce needs. And we were looking up a few years ago, and we were talking from a state perspective about a workforce skills shortage. So we took that on to see how can we mobilize our community to deal with the skills shortage that had been identified by leadership in Kentucky. And then for several years, we've talked about entrepreneurship, the need to close the gap around wealth development through empowerment of more entrepreneurs. And then we've took on issues like food insecurity, the economics of food. We've taken on the economics of health equity. And this year, thanks to our planning committee and the work that they've done over the past several months, we decided to take on this focus on wealth building. And so, the subtext is prosperity through peace. And that was brought to us through our strong partnership with the Rotary Club of Louisville. And again, I want to thank our club. I'm proud to be a Rotarian. I'm proud to have our support of our club president, who you're going to hear from in just a few minutes. Also, other strong Rotarians that you're going to hear from on the panel. And throughout the day, we're going to be talking about this theme of prosperity through peace. And we're just excited about that. So I do want to acknowledge the support of our team, the staff that works hard every day to make this mission go at LCCC. We have a strong staff team, and as we dub ourselves, we're small but mighty. We got a core staff that's highly skilled, and we take on a big mission, and I think we do it quite well. So I'm very proud of the team. Give my team a hand, if you will. Also, really excited to have strong board leadership at this organization. The board is very much engaged and very passionate about the success of the organization. And you're going to hear from some board members. You've already heard from Brother Floyd Smith, who provides leadership in a very genuine way in a lot of areas, our resource development, our finance, our special events. He's always on deck. And you're going to hear from Robert Byers, who will be moderating the panel. And so I want to thank them. Give my board, any other board members that I didn't recognize. If you're a board member of this organization, stand up. Thank you. And I'm always honored, and it really touches my heart whenever we do these community engagements, and I'm able to look in the room, and the first person that shows up is Miss Emma Lucille Allen, who is a living legend. She was here greeting me when I showed up this morning, and it really helps us to know that we're on to something when we can get her attention and get her involved. And Reverend Elliott, good to see you, always, my friend. Good to see you. You're going to hear from a great program today. I do want to thank all of the sponsoring organizations. I've mentioned the Rotary Club. We've had great sponsorship from them for 4 years consecutive. And we've got Rotarians in the room. As a result of that, good to see Delene Taylor, always our club exec. And you're going to hear from our club president in a moment. Great partnership with the Small Business Development Center. David Ogden, who leads that, is here. Good to see you, David, always. Proud to be a board member also at Waterfront Park. And always great to see Alex Vega when he shows up representing Waterfront. And that's great. We've got Revert in the house. Revert is a redlining mitigation initiative of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and they're here with a special grant opportunity that individuals who qualify can get up to $50,000 to support first-time home ownership, and that's just a treasure of an opportunity. Great to see Humana, Healthy Horizons here. They've been great supporters. Margie is here. Thank you, and our friends always who you're going to hear from. Renee Goatley later, representing the Human Relations Commission of Louisville, Jefferson County. So I just want to say thank you. You're going to hear from a powerful keynote in a moment. I'm really excited about Jasmine Presley. We had her in the studio with us yesterday, and she's going to educate. Even though we don't have a strong, packed house like we want to see, we do want to acknowledge that these proceedings are being recorded. Thanks to Brother Fred Lee Reynolds, who's here with 5 Part Media, and we will be presenting these proceedings via our YouTube channel shortly after we process this, and we'll be publishing a report for the community to learn from what we learned during this day. My final comment is these summits are really about community empowerment and community voice. So as we go through today, we want you to take in information only to inspire you to speak about what the issues are that you're concerned about on this pathway to wealth building. And so all of us should be on that pathway at some level or another, but we want to talk about what gets in the way, what opportunities can we leverage, how can we make a bigger impact statement around wealth building and prosperity through peace. So I want to thank you all for being here.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. We appreciate that. And our next speaker will be Robert. Who's? Okay. Okay, Ken, okay. Ken, please. I'm fine, but how you doing? Ken Saboski, President of the Rotary Club.
Morning, everybody. Great to be here on this beautiful day. Always inspiring when you're in the presence of Dr. Kevin Fields and Elmer Lucille. I'll tell you what, these are great events. Our Rotary Club welcomes partnering again with Dr. Fields and the Louisville Central Community Centers for another summit. This one, Prosperity Through Peace, is timely for us as Rotary International has designated October as the Economic and Community Development Month. With nearly 400 members, our Rotary Club is the 12th largest in the world. There are more than 45,000 clubs worldwide, and the clubs all strive for peace and prosperity in their communities through service above self to make our communities better. We are guided by the Rotary 4-way test, what we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Does it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned? Our club members mentor students at Western and Iroquois high schools, fund scholarships, serve meals at Recenter Ministries, assist refugee families, help build homes, help repair homes, help to provide loans for first-time homeowners through a special initiative in West Louisville to help build wealth. We work to reduce gun violence in our neighborhoods and provide clean water for neighborhoods in other countries who don't have easy access to it. We participate in life-changing projects globally, like eradicating polio. We help develop young leaders through our literacy program at West End School and sponsoring Interact clubs. We honor unsung heroes in our schools with special recognition and scholarship money, all schools in Jefferson County. All our Rotarians are focused on positively impacting people. When we do that, you help create prosperity through peace. And we welcome guests to our meetings each week and to help serve along with us. These summits invigorate and excite us, move us to do more, and we appreciate the opportunity to be a part of them and appreciate Dr. Kevin Fields and his team members for making it happen. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ken. Next, we'll have our keynote speaker, Miss Presley. Would you please stand, come to the podium?
Okay. Mike's a little taller than me, but we'll make it work. Happy Friday, everybody. It is a beautiful day, and I'm so excited to be here. Really grateful and honored for the opportunity to be the keynote speaker today. I want to say thank you to LCCC and Dr. Kevin Fields for inviting me to be here today, and thank you to all of you for showing up. Before we dive into the discussion, I want to take a minute to introduce just a little bit about myself, my background, my journey, my experiences, because that's really what has shaped my mindset, my personal mission, and who I am today. I am born and raised right here in Louisville, Kentucky. I am a U of L graduate, and I got my bachelor's degree in political science. I was really intrigued during undergraduate studies about how politics shapes and governs our everyday lives, how there are people in positions of power, there are decision makers who are creating policies that, again, affects the way we live our lives out each day. And I just had a thought like, I want to sit at the table. You know, I didn't know how that would unfold, but I pursued the degree anyways, not knowing where exactly I was going to land in my career field. But fast forward to present day, I am not an elected official, but I do have the privilege of serving the city of Louisville as a legislative assistant for Metro Council District 9. And so through that role, I do a lot of project management, provide constituent services, work with nonprofits for neighborhood development, but also support the councilmen in creating legislation. And again, these are the ordinances and the laws that are enacted to help create order for our city. So let me rewind just a little bit, because I did mention that I went to the University of Louisville. And while I am grateful for my college education, I was not afforded a financial education while I was in college. So, you know, graduated, thought that everything was just gonna happen to where I can get my life in order, you know, and start making the money. And the reality was lots of student loan debt. I did eventually find a decent job, but still found myself in this cycle of living paycheck to paycheck and not feeling like I can really get ahead. So that really propelled me into my personal growth journey, my personal finance journey, where I started studying finance, reading books on finance, and they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. At some point, I was introduced to my mentor who brought me into the financial service industry. He sat me down at my kitchen table at home and taught me about life insurance and got me set up with that and retirement assets such as Roth IRAs, and provided the financial education, which was the missing piece. Everything that I was studying, he reinforced when we started meeting and he started coaching me. So it really became clear that, okay, the way that money works, these books that I was reading, it's like the wisdom and the knowledge never changes. So no matter what decade, century that we're in, the principles of money pretty much remain the same. So I started applying that financial education. I became licensed to sell life insurance. I started doing the same thing that my mentor did with me, sitting down with families at the kitchen table and teaching them how money works. And then I also decided to take it a step further and get licensed to sell real estate so that I can help people acquire wealth as well through homeownership. And so I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur, founder and CEO of the Presley Post. That is another major venture that I decided to take on back in 2021. Opened brick and mortar location in downtown Louisville, right in the Museum Row. So we're kind of right there by the Louisville Slugger and the Kentucky Science Center. The Presley Post is a co-working space. We have about 65 members who share the workspace to grow and build their business. So I'm also a mother, aside from my professional life. I am a mother, and I am really big on holistic living, just really taking care of your whole self, whether that's mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and through programs, events, and the work that I do, I empower others to do the same. So with that being said, we can go to the next slide. When I started creating this presentation, it kind of led me to do some research on some current statistics, specifically as it pertains to the racial wealth gap in America. And the source that I came across was the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. They put out this information every 3 years, so I expect sometime next year they will have data for 2025. But this is the most comprehensive survey on household wealth in the United States. And while this chart dates back to 1989, for the purpose of this discussion, we'll focus on 2019 and 2022. Now this chart, it's broken down. You'll see the year, and then you'll see the races: white, black, Hispanic, and other. The other race is categorized as American Indian, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Asian, mixed race, and all the remaining races. So white and Asian families had the most wealth. I was not surprised to know that. And I will also say that this chart represents the median wealth by race. And so if you take all the sorted list of numbers, the median is going to be the middle value. So the median wealth for Asian families is $536,000 in 2022. White families had about 6 times as much wealth as black families. And so if we take a look at 2019, and these are by thousands of dollars. In 2019, the median wealth for white families was $218,000. For black families, $27,000. For Hispanic families, $41,000, and other $86,000. In 2022, the median wealth by race was $285,000 for white families, about $45,000 for black families, $61,000 for Hispanic, and $132,000 for others. So wealth ratios have narrowed since 2019 based on these statistics. Non-white homeowners, stock owners, and business ownership increased relatively more than for white families. But one thing that I also learned in undergraduate studies is that numbers can be manipulated to tell a story, you know. But I would like to think that this is raw data, and while there may be a small closure in the wealth gap, it's still obvious that there is significant work that needs to be done. So since the Great Depression, the typical black and Hispanic family has had about $10 to $15 of wealth for every $100 held by the typical white family. And we can go to the next slide. It's a very similar chart, except for this one is mean wealth by race, which is the average if you sort all the numbers. And it tells the similar story. In 2019, the mean wealth for white families was $1.1 million. The mean wealth for white families in 2022 was $1.3 million. For black families in 2019, $165,000 for their mean wealth. 2019, $165,000. 2022, $211,000. Hispanic families, the mean wealth, $191,000 in 2019 and 2022, $227,000. And then other category, $761,000 mean wealth in 2019, and then in 2022, $849,000. So these numbers tell a story. Throughout this presentation, we'll dive a little bit more into what has created these disparities. But I do want to lean into the idea that true empowerment, and we can go to the next slide, please, begins when we take ownership of our resources, our creativity, and our communities. Can we go to the next one? So a brief overview of what we'll be talking about today is ownership as empowerment, how we can reclaim, control, and build generational wealth, equity as a pathway to peace, which is how fair access to opportunities stabilizes communities, innovation rooted in culture, so how our culture can drive economic progress, and collective action for lasting change, how collaboration multiplies impact. You can go to the next one. Okay, thank you. So ownership as empowerment. Again, I'm a huge advocate of home ownership, business ownership, and also wealth management in terms of investing and budgeting and saving in order to achieve financial peace and independence. So home ownership reduces wealth gaps because it creates a deeper sense of belonging, stability, and community care. Business creation gives us independence and agency to provide economic mobility, and wealth management lays the foundation for generational legacy. If you've ever driven down a street or lived on a street where most people are residents and own their homes, you may have noticed that the yards are kept up and the homes are cared for. And that's not to say that people who rent their homes do not care for their homes, but when you do own something, you protect it. You have an interest in protecting it. And so that is an example or a visual representation of how ownership empowers people to protect and preserve. Go to the next slide, please. So, got some more data for you all. Home ownership rates by race and ethnicity. In 2019, 73% of white families owned their homes, and that number stayed about relatively the same for 2022. In 2019, 45% of black families owned their homes, and in 2022, that increased a bit to about 46%. In 2019, 47% of Hispanic families owned their home, and in 2022, 51%. And then in the other category, in 2019, 54% of Asians, Pacific Islanders, et cetera, owned their homes, and 57% in 2022. So again, you can see that for non-white families, the increase in home ownership rates there has been a more obvious increase in home ownership rates for non-white families than by white families. So even still, only about 45% of black families own their homes compared to the 73% of white families. Home ownership creates peace through stability. So home ownership provides an emotional type of peace because it creates a sense of belonging. It often brings a deeper connection to place, encourages civic engagement and mutual respect among neighbors. So again, when you live on the street, you may care about what's going on with the lady next door, or the young boy down the street, what maybe sports activities or something. You just get to know your neighbors in a deeper way. When you are stable in housing and live somewhere for a while, you just really start to build that sense of community. And then also, it provides emotional peace because there's you got to think about reduced displacement. When you don't own your home, you know, your lease may be 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and that landlord can decide not to renew your lease, and you may be moving more frequently than if you were to actually own your home. So that the displacement can cause destabilization with families and communities and increased stress and that sort of thing. Homeownership also creates and builds financial peace because of asset accumulation. Homes are the biggest assets that most people will own, and typically their values appreciate over time, which allows people to build equity. When you own a home, you build equity, and that equity can be leveraged for other investments, business, education, and other types of long-term wealth. Also, the financial piece, it's stability in housing costs. So again, unlike renters, your rent, and we're seeing that as of lately, you know, with the gentrification process, rents are increasing. But if you own your home and you have a fixed rate mortgage, you can enjoy the predictable cost of housing, allowing for better financial planning. Also, again, spoke about it already, but access to credit, home equity can be leveraged, and that itself allows for more financial peace and flexibility. Homeownership also strengthens community peace, and we talked about that a little bit as well. You're more likely to invest in your neighborhoods, participate in local governments, and advocate for improvements. Again, in my role of legislative assistant at Metro Council, a lot of the calls we get from our constituents, District 9 is like Frankfurt Avenue, Melwood, Brownsboro Road, and I don't think that the community at large understands that you can call your council person and say, there's a pothole in the road, this street light is out, there's problems in this neighborhood that needs attention. And so those are the type of connections that really can help to improve and create safer neighborhoods. Homeownership also creates generational wealth. As we know, homes can be passed down, which helps to avoid future generations as far as housing insecurity. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about business ownership. And this table shows the rates of business ownership by race and ethnicity. Again, we notice here that in 2019, 16% of white families owned a business, and about 15.9% owned a business in 2022. Now, this is 16% of white families. But if you look at small businesses as a whole, about 85% of white families own small businesses. For Black families, 4.1% of Black families owned a business in 2019. In 2022, which we know the COVID era really ignited entrepreneurship. A lot of people starting businesses, and so that number increased pretty significantly to 11% of Black families owning a home in 2022. In 2019, 7% of Hispanic families owned a business versus 9.75% in 2022. And then for other, about 11.9% owned a business versus 14% in 2022. So small businesses are categorized as firms with 500 employees or fewer, and they account for 99.9% of all U.S. firms, and that's about 33 million firms across the country. And again, about 85% had majority white ownership as far as small businesses in our country, 11% owned by Asian Americans, 7% of our businesses owned by Hispanics, and about 3% of our businesses owned by Blacks or African American. Can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Business and ownership, agency, and impact. So owning a business creates a sense of economic peace because you have control over your income and you have more creative freedom. I did not mention that back in 2021, just really my journey of even opening the Presley Post space. Back in 2021, I was working for my last corporate job, I will say. Again, we were in the COVID era. It was a lot of people losing their lives at this time. We were working from home. We were shut down. My children were in the house with me doing NTI while I was trying to work. And all of this kind of came to a head when my employer came to me and said that they were going to let me go. That was my first time being fired from a job. It was pretty devastating, but at the same time, it was a toxic work culture. So I felt them kind of harassing me to get me out. You just kind of know when it's your time. And so with that came a really big sense of creative freedom. Thankfully, in this economy, you kind of got to know how to have multiple streams of income or a plan B. So I was already preparing and had gotten my real estate license to where I was not extremely worried about my next steps. And so February 2021, I got let go, and September of 2021 is when I got the keys to the Presley Post and opened that brick and mortar location. So business ownership reduces the dependence on external employment or aid. And it also builds community peace because small businesses are drivers of employment, especially in underserved areas. Again, there's 33 million firms across the U.S., and most of those businesses have employees. Local businesses often reinvest in their communities as well, fostering trust and reducing economic disparities. Another aspect of this is social inclusion. So entrepreneurship can empower underrepresented groups like women, minority, we have Black-owned business, women-owned businesses, and that sort of thing. And that can really allow you to have a stake in the community. Business ownership also empowers personal peace for the reasons I mentioned before. You're able to align your work with your purpose, and you're able to leave behind toxic work cultures once it's time. But business ownership also drives innovation and identity. Business owners can shape products, services, and solutions that reflect their values and needs. And so when we own businesses, we don't just create income, we create influence, because entrepreneurship gives us the power to shape our economy. Go to the next slide. This next chart, and then I'm going to lay off the stats after this one. But this is stock ownership race by ethnicity and race. And in 2022, 65% of white families own stock, and then the survey of consumer finances refers to stock as encompassing both the individual shares of companies, so directly held stock, but then also investments that are composed of stock, such as retirement accounts or mutual funds, which is indirectly held stock. So in 2022, 39% of Black families had ownership in stock, 28% of Hispanic families, and 56% of others. And we can see that stock participation increased sharply across all races, particularly Black families, between the 2019 and 2022 time period. Wealth management, stewardship, and sustainability is also a peace builder in prosperity. Wealth management provides a mental peace, again, because of reduced financial stress. When you have a well-managed financial life, it reduces anxiety, conflict, and instability within your family and communities. You build up a certain financial confidence when you have a clear financial plan. You feel more secure and capable of pursuing your personal and professional goals. But then also financial peace comes with wealth management, because when you become more educated, you know how to prepare for crisis, because financial setbacks and emergencies will happen, and having emergency funds and insurance plannings in place really helps for you to weather those storms when they arise. Investment planning also helps individuals grow their assets. and retirement and estate planning as well. That's long-term financial security and a smooth transfer of wealth across generations. Wealth management creates financial peace. Again, financial planning and protection. I'm big on the life insurance and the retirement assets as well, because there's kind of two, as wealth builders, we need to financially protect ourselves and our families, because there's going to be either two dilemmas. You may either die too soon, and when you're on your wealth building journey, and in that event, you definitely need life insurance to take care of those final expenses and to make sure that you are able to at least leave behind a sense of generational peace for your family, so they are not struggling with finances during a time of loss, and when they're grieving, that's the last thing that they should have to worry about is money. But then also on the other side of that coin is living too long, which, that's a great thing. But if you want to also be investing so that when you get to, so that you can reach a point of financial freedom, so that you no longer have to work for money because you've been investing, and at some point your money, and over that time of investment, your money's working for you, so where you don't have to work for money anymore, and you can get paid and enjoy your golden years. So wealth management helps to create peace in that way. And again, family peace, by having clear estate planning that reduces family disputes and ensures that wealth transitions smoothly, preserving harmony. And then also wealth management sustains community peace, because when these services are made available to underserved populations, it helps close economic gaps and fosters social cohesion. So we'll move on to our next topic, which is equity as a pathway to peace. And here we'll discuss access to capital and resources. When we have access to capital, coaching, and credit, this allows individuals to start and sustain businesses, buy homes, and invest in their future. Equity ensures that historically marginalized groups can access loans, grants, education, and financial tools needed to build wealth. And in terms of inclusive growth, when everyone can participate in the economy, communities benefit from a broader base of innovation, entrepreneurship, and productivity. Inclusive growth ensures that wealth is circulated, not concentrated. Community thrives when diverse entrepreneurs, workers, and families share in prosperity. And then we'll also cover equity-driven policies. For example, fair lending, affordable housing, fair wages. Policies shape equity as well, or inequity. Equity isn't sustainable without systems that support it. So when systems are fair, people can focus on building instead of battling. So access barriers that must be removed for equity to lead to peace are financial barriers. When people can't fund their ideas or secure stable housing, they become frustrated, generational poverty persists, and both of these disrupt community peace. Limited access to credit, capital, banking services, especially for Black and minority entrepreneurs, is another example of financial barriers that exist, as well as predatory lending, lack of financial education. Again, most K through 12 and even college, you don't learn about how money works, but on the same note, you're getting credit cards as soon as you graduate college, offers mailed to your home. Institutional and policy barriers as well also disrupt equity and peace. Biased zoning, lending, and hiring policies that favor some groups over others is an example of this type of barrier. Inconsistent enforcement of equity-focused laws and programs, and policies that displace rather than develop communities, such as urban renewal or gentrification that displaces people who reside in communities. Underrepresentation in decision-making spaces is also an example of an institutional barrier. So whether this is boards, banks, city planning, elected officials, when we are underrepresented, that can create barriers to access and equity. So with that being said, elections matter, your vote matters, and we're seeing the outcome of the presidential election, and we'll talk about even in the following slide a little bit about how, like for example, some of the anti-DEI policies is disproportionately affecting Black women in their careers as well. Educational and knowledge barriers. So knowledge gaps keep communities dependent instead of empowered, and unequal access to quality education and career pathways. And so this, you know, there in certain neighborhoods, the property taxes may fund schools, and so there's even not equality amongst JCPS. Some schools have more books, more equipment, more technology than others, and this is an access barrier. Housing and environmental barriers as well. So where you live impacts how you live. Redlining and discriminatory real estate practices, an example of those type of barriers. Limited access to safe, affordable housing. Environmental neglect, so certain parts of the city have more pollution, have more toxic waste that impacts the air quality and so forth. So these barriers erode health, stability, and hope. Cultural and social barriers is another barrier. Limited job opportunities and leadership advancement based on stereotypes or biases. Cultural erasure or undervaluing of Black innovation and intellectual property is also something that we see sometimes in the corporate world. Lack of representation in media, corporate, and civic spaces. And so when these barriers are removed, creativity and innovation flourish, leading to jobs, stability, and local reinvestment. Peace grows when people no longer have to fight for what they need to survive. And we can move to the next slide, please. I don't know how we're doing on time, so I will speed it up just a little bit, but I will say that I love the city of Louisville, and we have a lot of motion happening here. There are tons of local organizations that do promote economic equity and growth. AMP's RTBI is the first one mentioned here. I'm always going to give a lot of praise to Dave Christopher and the work that he's doing through that organization. I'm a graduate of the 2023 Business Incubator Program, and just the wraparound services that they provide to small businesses is phenomenal. CDFIs, which are community development financial institutions, like El Home, Park Community Credit Union is one, LISC. These financial institutions were created to serve historically marginalized communities who didn't have access to traditional financing. Louisville Urban League is another great asset in our community. I'm always so amazed by the amount of resources that they have available, covering every aspect, whether that's housing, whether that's job opportunities, entrepreneurship, financial empowerment. They offer all of these type of services for free. Even expungement, you know, they have legal teams and that sort of thing. Rebound is another nonprofit housing development organization. They promote affordable housing and economic stability in low and income families, particularly in West Louisville. Community Foundation of Louisville is another organization that's doing great work to advance racial equity and create opportunities for all residents across Metro by mobilizing resources and capitals. They recently allocated over $3 million through their Invest Louisville initiative, and Rebound was one of the recipients of that. They received a $750,000 loan to acquire property in Louisville's West End to build a justice center. And also Chef Space is an example of a local organization. Again, I'm a big fan of shared workspaces. It really reduces overhead costs and helps you build a sense of community. Russell Place of Promise is another great organization, and hundreds of other local nonprofits in our city. Key historic policies that have created economic and power inequality, slavery and post-Reconstruction policies, the Homestead Act of 1862, which provided free land to white settlers, excluding Black Americans and Native peoples, which created generational wealth for white families through land ownership. And so this is where you start to see the growing racial wealth gap since slavery. You know, these different policies that were after effect of slavery that advanced certain groups and marginalized others. New Deal programs like the Federal Housing Administration, it promoted redlining and denying home loans to Black families. Government-sanctioned maps labeled Black neighborhoods as high risk, denying residents access to mortgages and home ownership. And again, this is the type of thing that leads to racial wealth gaps. The GI Bill, urban renewal in the 1950s and 70s, mass incarceration and the war on drugs, tax policy and deregulation, and again, as mentioned before, the anti-DEI policy, which we are seeing current day. Approximately 300,000 Black women have exited the labor force in just 3 months this year, following Trump's DEI rollbacks. And so I wonder how in 2025, when that new report comes out, if we will see, you know, a fallback from the growth that we've been experiencing in the recent years. Key equity-driven policies, and the list prior was much longer than this one, but Brown versus Board of Education, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Fair Housing Act of 1968, Truth in Lending Act, harm reduction funding over the past few years. These are some policies that were enacted to try to promote more equity and to kind of like corrective action for some of the practices in the past, but there's still a lot of work to do. So we'll segue into innovation rooted in culture. Culture innovation blends the preservation of culture with the drive for innovation and economic progress. So we preserve and build upon existing culture while simultaneously infusing it with fresh perspectives driven by factors like technology, new social awareness, because culture fuels creativity and creativity fuels the economy. We'll specifically talk about cultural tourism, cultural districts, cultural entrepreneurship, and cultural expression. So I want to shout out Mr. Lamont Collins, the founder of Roots 101 African American Museum. This is a great example of cultural tourism, which is a type of travel focused on experiencing the heritage, history, arts, traditions, and lifestyle of a destination. This museum has artifacts. There's, you know, you'll go in there and it's just like it takes you through time as far as the Black experience. And it really is phenomenal because it's like you get to experience African American history through our lens. And there, Mr. Lamont also does activities there to where he actually puts chains on people, and it's a very emotional experience. So if you haven't visited, I do recommend that you pay them a visit. The Historic Sites Museum and traditional festivals, they all generate revenue for local businesses and governments. An example of cultural entrepreneurship is the Bro Brothers. Their company is Kentucky's first African-American owned distillery. And so I think that it is super innovative and awesome that they decided to go with Kentucky's culture of bourbon and create history with that. Next, I will shamelessly plug the Presley Post. It is in a cultural district. So a cultural district is a specific, well-defined urban or rural area with a high concentration of cultural institutions, activities, and assets. So an example of this would be like Nulu, Museum Row, which is where the Presley Post is located, the Highlands, or Old Louisville, where you will see historic architecture. So Again, the Presley Post, I say that this is a space where business and the arts harmoniously converge on Main Street. We feature local artworks and expansive interior murals, and the location, I couldn't have asked for a better location for this space. Cultural expression is how individuals and communities show their way of life, values, belief, and identity through symbolic and creative means like food, art, fashion. So an example of this is Legacy Week, which we host every year at the Presley Post, which uplifts wealth, wellness, and culture in marginalized communities. It also fosters pride and cultural identity. I love it because every year we get to showcase Black excellence and creativity on Main Street, a part of town where, you know, it's predominantly white. I'm right back next to the Louisville Slugger Museum, and I don't see a lot of people in the Black community walking out with bats. You know, there's just not a lot of that activity, but with our growing membership base and with our events and our activations, we are taking up space, and I'm really proud of that. So with Legacy Week, it's an infusion of art, fashion, food, healing, and culturally relevant education. So I'm going to close with the collective call to action for lasting impact. Centering collaboration over competition is key to building peace and wealth and prosperity together. Viewing peace and wealth building as community projects. And so in order to partner and collaborate successfully, you really have to be able to unite around a shared vision, cultivate partnerships rooted in trust and shared ownership, be accountable for yourself and to others, and allow your values and align your values with leadership. Also, we need to design systems that serve and sustain us. So creating equitable financial systems, policies, and programs like this Economic Mobility Summit today is a great example of different initiatives and ways that we can create sustainable systems that reflect our community values. Also, investing in our people instead of just property and projects is a great way to design systems that serve us. Cultivate cooperative economics is another big one. The Black Panther Party established this, and they were great at it, creating free breakfast for children and health clinics. Cooperative economics is rooted in democracy, where there's collective ownership, there's shared responsibility. The individuals who own the organization also benefit from the profits of it. And then also commit to the movement for collective prosperity. And this could look like being a mentor to someone else, a young entrepreneur, or just our youth period in our community. Engaging in mentorship and empowering others to lead. Celebrating our progress publicly to inspire continued participation, and protecting our peace as we would protect profit, because both are essential. And that is all that I have for today.
Please give her a huge hand. Jasmine, that was phenomenal, pitch perfect. And thank you for all that information you gave us. You know, it's wonderful to hear her personal testimony as a product of Louisville, of West Louisville, who gets educated and goes from political science, which she's still engaged in, into entrepreneurship and business ownership. And I love the way that you brought those policy issues forward. You gave us a history lesson on how we got this wealth gap through policy, and you also talked about issues that are on the ground, closing that gap and all of that work. So I just want to say thank you. That was phenomenal. We're going to welcome you to come back again. We don't want you to leave yet, because I want to facilitate a little bit of dialogue. We have a few minutes for audience engagement. And so I'm going to walk down here and do the Donahue thing and just see if there's any questions from the audience that our keynote speaker can answer. If you have any questions, please just raise your hand. No questions. She was thorough.
Okay.
That was awesome. Please give her a huge hand. That was phenomenal.
And now we're at the time where we all came forward to hear from the panelists to get some more insight on peace and prosperity for the community. So our friend Robert Byers is going to lead that part of our session. And Robert, please come up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Byers. I'm the Community Development Manager for Woodforest National Bank, and I'll be the moderator. Before I jump in, I do want to reiterate and give another shout out to Jasmine Presley. That was a great presentation, definitely. As a banker, I really appreciate those numbers and stats that you provided. That's music to my ears, and you know, a lot of you can really see where we stand as a community and where we need to grow. Another thing I really appreciated is the policies that you presented. And actually, my role at the bank, there was another policy called the Community Reinvestment Act, which passed in 1972, which it first initiated from redlining, which she mentioned, because banks were redlining back, you know, before the civil rights. But so the government put in the CRA Act, and that's literally what I do in my job. And it's grown from more than just redlining. We have to focus on economic development, affordable housing, community development, and revitalizing low-income neighborhoods. So without that act, I wouldn't be up here talking right now. Another thing that I really appreciated from her presentation, notice she constantly had the word peace and prosperity. And that's going to be the theme for the panel discussion as well. So I'm going to just kind of briefly give you an overview of what we'll be talking about. Positive peace is really the real motive of this conversation as I have the panelists come up. According to the Rotary International, positive peace is the presence of attitudes, institutions, and structures that create and sustain peaceful societies. They actually have 8 pillars of positive peace. A well-functioning government. I was told to be hopeful, so I'm not going to comment on that. Sound business environment, equitable distribution and resources, good acceptance to the rights of others, good relations with neighbors, free flow of information, high levels of human capital, and low levels of corruption. Economic peace building is more than stability, it's empowerment. Rotary International defines positive peace as the presence of systems that allow human potential to flourish. This panel, come on up, gentlemen. This panel will explore how entrepreneurship, investments, and home ownership serve as instruments of both prosperity and peace. I'll have questions from 3 different sectors. Obviously, the peace and prosperity, barriers and breakthroughs, and the power of partnership. And so with that being said, as they have a seat, I'd like to go around and have our panelists introduce themselves. Please give your name, your organization, and then we'll start the panel discussion. We'll start right here.
Yep, my name is Matthew Harrell. I am the CEO of APK Development and Construction. We are a construction development firm based here in Louisville, Kentucky, that operates both in Kentucky, Tennessee, St. Louis, and in Cincinnati.
How you guys? Sorry about that. All right. My name is Charles Burns. I am the founder and CEO of He Consulting and Development. I focus on community engagement in between technology and financials and everything in the middle. So think AI, GAI, and automations for B2B businesses and utilizing VR technology to increase workforce development and accelerate that. And then on the financials, think about life insurance, annuities, Roth IRAs, 401k rollovers, and everything in between. So think fintech, blockchain, crypto technology, smart contracts, and so forth.
Did I do this right? It's turned on?
And, well, you don't need the mic.
My name is Rick Harned. I'm retired for quite a few years now after a career that started with First National Bank here in Louisville, if anybody remembers that organization. Then I was with the Kentucky World Trade Center, and the last 10 years with Marsh & McLennan, helping operate their email systems around the world. I'm active very much now with the Rotary Club, and am continuing to study and learn how we can make our community work a little better. Hello. Hello.
Hello, my name is Kendrick Porter. I am the owner of the exercise coach here in Kentucky, St. Matthews in Middletown as well. What we do is artificial intelligent workouts. We create a workout specifically for the client, so we don't do any getting on the floor, no jumping up and down, no heavy lifting, no dumbbells, but the workout is created just for them. And everything we do is 20 minutes, where it increases health stability and also mental stability and balance as well. The #1 personal training service in the world. So we have 40 locations also outside of United States and Japan as well. And so developing globally and building health overall.
Hi, my name is Edwin Fox. I'm a financial advisor for Raymond James. I've been doing it 26 years. The Raymond James firm's been around since 1962. We have an office in St. Matthews. We manage about $120 million. I manage about $60 million, about 250 households. Pretty much my customer base is pretty much 99% African Americans. And I have about 13 African American households that are millionaires, ranging from $1 million all the way up to about $7 million.
All right, thank you guys. So we'll jump right into the questions. The first question, how does economic stability contribute to a safer and more peaceful communities? Anybody want to jump in? Go ahead. We can go around.
When you ask that question, I think about an old saying that idle hands, right, will do the devil's work. And so when you think about stability in any community and actually in any system, what you're really talking about is the ability to focus on something that is beneficial or interesting to a particular party or a particular community. And I think when you think about what has happened, particularly in the Black community, when I was growing up, we had things like Boys Club, we had after-school activities, we had, Girls, Boy Scouts. So there are multiple things that were nestled within the community that gave us an opportunity to be exposed to things that were outside of our community. And when you don't have that, then essentially what you have is a not only disenfranchised population, but you also have a population that is just trying to find their way in a community or in a city that they feel has left them behind. So when you talk about stability, you have to talk about what it means to actually have a community. A location is not a community. It is the interaction within that location that makes it a community.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'd like to make a comment on also, when you talk about mobility, also you focus on your financial ability, just your ability to go to college, ability that maybe you have a job in Nashville and you relocate to Dallas, Texas, or your ability to be a homeowner, or even the ability to just buy a car and own that car. And depending on what the insurance costs living in a predominantly suburban area versus living in an urban area. You know, financial plays a major part of economic mobility. Starting a business, even getting a loan, all that plays a role. So financial security is a key to that mobility, being able to make your own choices where you want to live, how you want to live, and growing opportunity as you age in our society, because everybody still has, with that mobility, the American dream, that you want to be better off in the future.
Thank you.
So when I think of economic mobility, I think of how I grew up, what I found out now, and where I'm going towards. For example, I grew up right across the street in Village West for 15 years, 582 Village West Drive, okay? Then in 2013, I went to the University of Kentucky for community and leadership development. You know what, for a class, one of my last classes, they pulled up my neighborhood. And a person said, "Aren't you from there? What was it like growing up there?" And I'm one out of two African-American people in the class. So there is a disassociation and understanding from people that want to be in a community with you, but don't understand because it's systematic. They don't understand that they're on their parents' car insurance and out in Prospect or houses like that, and their insurance is low because of that. But my address is still in my mom's house at 24th and Chestnut, so my premium's much higher. So when we talk about economic mobility, we're not talking about, hey, we're now giving more grants through the city to nonprofits. That is great, but I'm talking about economic mobility when I go apply for life insurance because I have a certain zip code and say my racial card, my premium doesn't go up. So that's why I got into systems and technology, because I understand the redlining through the technology. It's ingrained in. So we can get more money, we can do this and that, but if you don't teach people how systems are the barriers directly from applying to funding, grants, because I've done grant reporting and monitoring too, right? If we don't directly change the policies for the applications of the resources, then it's null and void, right? I was just talking to one last thing. I was just talking to my friend at the state yesterday. She says Kentucky has no more money for food stamps. They're about to send a memo out from our boss next week. She said I can say that today, right? Okay, so what's about to happen in the aftermath of that? We have a week until the people were supposed to get their food stamps, right? But nobody knows, so nobody can prepare. People were fighting during COVID over toilet paper. What happens when kids are actually hungry? So systems and understanding on how systems work down to the finite application of your person on paper or your business on paper and how that reflects you of even getting a hold of the resources. That's the first problem. Then we can handle everything else.
Thank you. Thank you. I think those were great answers. Did you want to add as well, Rick?
I would just speak a little bit on that elevated level that you just referred to, the systems way of thinking. It's not straightforward. It's very complicated, and it turns out that when you look into the discipline of systems thinking, which back in the 70s was a strength of the University of Louisville, when Dr. Miller, James Greer Miller, was the president of the university, they had a whole division working on systems thinking and helped you realize that the simple answer, the straightforward answer that seems logical, is often going to be exactly the wrong thing that makes things worse. That you have to realize that things have interactions among the different parts of it. You spoke of the 8 pillars of positive peace that basically a research tank out of Australia, the Institute for Economics and Peace, identified. They are all distinct, but they all work together and affect each other and are interacting. If you want to have a sound business environment, you better have a relatively low level of corruption throughout the political and social system. You want to have a government that works, that does the things that the people want it to do. For that, you're going to need a free flow of information, a relatively equitable distribution of resources. That's not equal resources, that's equitable. But you have to think about how anything you do is going to affect those other sides, those other aspects. When you're building your business, obviously you want to make a good income. But if you're focused entirely on the income and not on how are you affecting your employees, how are you affecting your clients, what are you doing to the physical environment you're working in, all that matters as well.
Thank you. And that was a great segue into my next question, which is how can entrepreneurship and small business ownership reduce poverty and violence in the community?
I'll take this one. All right, so when you're speaking about small business ownership, I started my first business in 2016 and sold out on a clothing brand on UK's campus, right? Just from being creativity and understanding. But we stopped because we had to pay for school, because we didn't understand how capital and getting funding and everything else worked, right? But even once we understand the how, there's the support of the continuous learning and the how. So if I'm a small business owner and I'm opening up a business, again, it's back to the economic mobility and the resources, but also the teaching thereof. They have some great programs like AMP's RTBI program and so forth, right? But how do you keep measuring, and what systems are going to keep going to be in place to measure your own business for that continuation of that sustainability and that learning, right? With the modern technology and regulations that's always changing, that you got to update to, right? So where things are constantly changing, so we needed a way to streamline that data and those updates to those small business owners that don't have the councilman or representative or state representative contact, right? You get what I'm saying? So systems again, but more access to learning and understanding directly without all the red tape. And then checks and balances and systems to do that inside of your business, so you can be self-sustainable. So,
thank you. Anybody else?
One of the things I do is I talk to young people about finance and entrepreneurship. And matter of fact, I'm involved in a program at our church where we have computers, laptops, robots, STEM, 3D printers. And one of the things we're exposing them to how to use technology of the day, AI, which is, everybody's talking about it now. That's another focus for especially our youth, because it's just a learning model for information. And it can also help, let's just say, high school students when they're unsure about what they want to major in, and you can actually put what your, let's say, favorite courses are that you excel in, and then give you an idea of thinking about what your major should be and what your career be. Information is real key, but also I think when reducing violence, what I use, it comes down to their experience, what they see, not what really goes on in their neighborhood or with their friend, but experiences that drive the economy. And I think it's very important today that our kids get exposed to technology, get exposed to robotics, get exposed to other areas that can provide a true opportunity for having a more growth mindset for our youth versus just a, let's say, not so growth mindset.
And to kind of piggyback off the exposure aspect of it, I'm born and raised Louisville, Kentucky, Central High School graduate. And so my background is computer science. And so I transitioned from 17 years at Toyota Motor Manufacturing in management and opened my first location in Middletown. And so when we talk about exposure and being an entrepreneur, funding, I thought was the biggest aspect that I needed to tackle. But being an entrepreneur and going into that field is really about coaching on how to spending the funds, how to make sure that the funds are put in the right place as far as working capital, right? So coaching and also mentorship, I think is going to be key. It's always going to be the biggest thing, not necessarily funding, but those things are going to be the biggest thing as far as building our community here.
Yeah, just so I make sure that I'm answering correctly, could you restate the question, please?
Honestly, the question was a little bit different, but I love this dialogue.
Yeah.
So if you want to just kind of piggyback on what everybody's saying, because actually, you guys are actually answering multiple questions that I haven't even asked yet. So we're probably going to speed through this, but I'll kind of curtail it a little bit different, but go ahead and piggyback on that.
Yeah, you know, I've participated in a number of different panels. I have served on a number of different boards, Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, Finance Committee for River City Housing. I've served as the national president for the largest Black real estate trade association in the United States. I've done a number of different cohorts, SBA. You know, currently I'm on the steering committee for Bingham Fellows. And the thought just keeps occurring to me because I participate in these panels, I participate on these boards, you know, and I'm looking for the missing ingredient, right? I'm looking for who's in the room that is going to tell me something that I don't know, right? Or that I haven't experienced, right? I'm always looking for what is the anomaly that seems to keep escaping the elevation and the growth of the Black community, the Black business person, the Black schools. And then it occurred to me that there isn't one. It occurred to me that somehow we are thinking that we have to reinvent the wheel in order for it to be prosperous or to be advantageous for the Black community. And the fact of the matter is that it doesn't. We don't require anything differently than what other people get access to. We just don't get access to it. And then we spend our time having these conversations as if something is missing within us or within our companies or within our people or within our communities. And it's not. It just seems as though that when we get to the precipice of actually making a change and really being engaged and really saying that this is what we want to do and this is why we want to do it and why this is important, then all of a sudden it becomes harder for us to scale. It becomes harder for us to be more, have more bandwidth, right? And all the time, the community is still sitting in the same spot. And this is not something that is based on rhetoric. This is not, when I first started this track, if you will, it was more passion than it was data driven. And it's very difficult to get people to pick up on your passion because people have passions, different passions for different reasons, right? But the one thing that people cannot argue with is data, right? The numbers are the numbers. The Black community has represented 22 to 23% of the city of Louisville for decades. But when we look at the marginalization of the Black community through all of these, unprecedented spending, unprecedented access to capital, surpluses in the metro government, right? Our numbers don't change. We've spent $1 billion in the last 10 years in West Louisville. That's $1 billion with a B. I would ask, is there anybody in this room that can raise their hand and tell me one major Black company that has expanded, grown, or become a player within their industry, even though we have spent that type of capital in West Louisville. Just one. Just one, right? And so what that tells me is that there's money being spent, but the marginalization is still there. The access is still there. The systems are still alive and active and present while we are trying to expand and do an internal conflict check within ourselves about what is it that we're doing wrong.
Really quick, go to him and then let you wrap it up.
That's very hard to follow. That's an impressive comment. But it is, I do also want to reemphasize what Kendrick said. A key issue is that pillar of a high level of human capital. And emphasizing that next area of learning that's really going to be important and valuable. We can't know who the best mentor for us is. Nobody wears a sign saying, hey, I'm your person. You got to reach out to a wide variety of folks and recognize that Louisville is an increasingly diverse community. We've had a significant influx of people of Latin origin, of Cubans. We have had many immigrants from East Asia, from South Asia, from Africa, that are not necessarily part of the community here. But we can learn from them. We can find ways to connect with them and listen to them if we develop our own attitudes. And every one of us can think about reaching outside of our comfort zones and seeing more of the real beauty and wealth of our diverse community.
I want to say one quick thing. Also, relationships, dialogue, and those two factors build trust. You know, and being in the financial industry, that's real important. Who's going to trust you with your money? And in my business, a double-edged sword, getting black clients and also white clients to trust you with your money. And that takes time with relationships. And relationships build opportunity too. And sometimes that relationship takes years, you know? And that's important for us to communicate more often and be, let's say, introduce who you are, what you're doing, and share thoughts. And dialogue is just very important in building a better financial future for households, individuals, and just our society as a whole.
I'd like to wrap it up by saying, to piggyback off of what all these gentlemen said, exposure is the largest thing, but you have to understand where we're headed when we're talking to exposure with young kids. Where we're talking exposure with young kids, right? So for example, my consulting company is part founders of a technology workforce development company. So we do workshops, training, and market simulations using VR, AI, and so forth, right? So we started with 10 headsets and no money, right? I think I paid myself $5,000 out of the company that year, Ubering on the side and doing whatever I needed to be. But what we did was we took those 10 headsets without any grant funding and so forth, because we're a for-profit and non-profit, and taught technology to over 5,000 kids, big brothers, big sisters, boys and girls club, and so forth, right? But we got the real data on how kids learn, how they want to learn, and their association with who's actually teaching them, right? So we found out that gamification was the best. So then when we got that data, right, even when Louisville Metro didn't have that data on how the kids specifically are learning inside the schools, because the technology isn't there. Why? Because they're not using it, even though we have Facebook and Meta building a big, large data center across the bridge, right? So we have these programs, and one of our programs was actually a carpentry welding and construction program that we did in a partnership with Republic YMCA, Our Business Take at Night, and then OSHA, which is OVP now. And when in 20 hours, we put a kid from Central High School, that's a cybersecurity kid, right? He got his XRT certification, which is our certification, extended reality technology, and also his carpentry basic certification in 20 hours, 2 hours a week, and it's industry standard when recognized by the construction union. And then he went to go do get $500 and did 10 hours at a construction company. But that red tape was taken away, and he got education, a certification with a third of the hours than it would take the average person to do that program. And even those programs are offered at that age. We was able to pay him because he was 15. So those type of accelerated pathways we now have data from, right? And then we're talking about resources and accessibility, right? The systems that's there. But the systems that's there, the data is skewed from the actual Louisville Metro to get the grant money to pull in versus the people and collecting the data and the nonprofits and the interoperability and the collection thereof, right? So we have an organization of the data problem so we can streamline the actual solutions. Tammy Hawkins talked about that a while ago in the neighborhood, right? Everybody needs data collection. So, and I would like for y'all to know, we're about to roll out a software that'll help everybody soon with projects, programs, resources, agentic agents that'll help get data, facilitate payments, and all of that in a network with all the businesses and easy, right? We need things that are easy, already in place, understand to collect the ground data to match with the data that they have. You get what I'm saying? Now we can directly really apply for the same funding because we have the real authentic data, not the data that's skewed and propped up in order to get the large amounts of money that the still nonprofits and small businesses don't see, right? So,
thank you. I swear they've answered probably about 90% of my questions already. I'm gonna have to just start making up questions on the fly by now. But no, to you all's point, you guys are giving some great feedback and great dialogue. And just to kind of piggyback on what all of you kind of noted just here, what are some local or national models that are breaking the cycle of disinvestment to entrepreneurships, real estate, micro lending? So do you guys know of any models or organizations that's actually making an impact that we could share here at this event?
From my perspective in my field, there's a number of them. In New York, for instance, there is a in the field of development, we are only represented by 3%. So 3% of all developers throughout the country are diverse or Black or African American, right? Now that's interesting when you think about everything that we do involves a developer, whether we're worshiping, whether we're living, whether we're playing, or whether we're working. So there is a tremendous amount of economic leverage that goes in and out of real estate development, right? And so the fact that we are only 3% of it is extremely interesting until you understand the systems, right? So in other places that are a little bit more progressive than what we tend to be here in Kentucky, for instance, in New York, essentially they had a program, and it still runs to this day, and it had spun off a lot of very prolific, proficient African-American real estate developers. And that was that the city said that if there was going to be redevelopment or if there was going to be adaptive reuse of any city-owned properties, that a majority-controlled developer, in order to get the subsidies, in order to get the land, in order to get the tax abatements, they had to go partner with a minority developer, right? And what that allowed to do is it was a quid pro quo because everybody won. The city won because it got the project that it wanted to get done, right? The majority developer won because he got access to the capital and the gap funding and the land itself. And then the minority developer won because he got a chance to be exposed to all of it, right? And they did that program for a number of years. And now what you have is you have examples of what this type of collaboration actually means, where you are vertically driven, right, to ensure that there is progress around the least of those that are included in something as important as real estate development.
Well, I like to say again, I'm just 30, by the way, you guys. So understanding the traditional real estate and where it's actually going. Okay, again, traditional technology, where it's going. So with that being said, over at the AMX Foundation, which houses Tech at Night and so forth, we just created a software product called Real Dealer. It's private, it isn't out yet, right? But this is basically, we use agentic AI agents, because there's AI, then there's GAI, generative, then there's agentic, and then there's AI agents. There's a separation with them all. We're not going to talk about that right now. But the platform Real Dealer basically uses agentic AI agents to scour data, like, for example, financial suit and CSR data. They're our good friends too, by the way, to streamline data from local counties, FHFA, and so forth, to pinpoint on and off-market properties, but wait, simultaneously vet them too as well. So we started on the ground, right? And we have currently 5 properties under contract, and we just started a month ago, right? So we're not only finding the leads, we're vetting the actual properties and packaging them up and getting them ready for the developers with our architects that are feeding the data to where our AI agents will be able to turnkey on its own. So, and that's one thing, right? Traditional, but then you have to understand where it's going. When I mean understanding where it's going, this is a hardware wallet, 3-in-1 digital asset hardware wallet. And I'll pull this out because Dubai, people in America are starting to tokenize properties. Tokenization is when you fractionalize the equity of any asset, okay? So when we're talking about economic mobility and access, we can put a property up we can put a property up right now and say these people in this zip code in the West End can fractionalize this property and invest $100 in it. Now everybody owns the property, everybody has equity, and everybody has tokens that represent thereof connected to a contract, a digital contract, and now it's connected in their wallet, and that is the ownership. Dubai just did that with $60 billion. This is where it's going with every asset of any world. Mortgage loans, anything you think of, the government's doing it right now, and the regulations are already rolling out in there. You just haven't seen it yet. The only company that's doing it here is Mr. Great Nick Campazano with Zio Development. He's fractionalizing the ownership of his property, but not the cash flow and development that comes through. We'll be able to do all of that. So our platform has buy boxes for T12 and rent rolls, and everything in it automatically turnkey to where we deliver your package. You know the LTV, the NOI cost, the ARV, and everything, refinance and so forth. So it's how you teach that, and then we're taking that and gamifying that learning for the local real estate companies. Because people like kids need to learn in an accelerated, gamified way, because the millennials are not going to care if you don't convey the information to them in a way they want to. And that's just that.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you for that dialogue. I want to open it up to the audience. Do you all have any questions for our panelists or for myself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Valerie. You all may recognize me from my nonprofit of Hezekiah's Place. My physical sponsor is Change Today, Change Tomorrow. I have a question in regards to the crime and as well as the economics. So I was born here in Louisville, Kentucky. For a while, I was in the Park Duval neighborhood. I recently moved out to the Crescent Hill neighborhood. One of my concerns that I have is I was around a lot of poverty, a lot of violence, a lot of just different things. As I am growing in my nonprofit world and as in a personal, some of the factors that I'm finding is some people, it's hard to get people out of their comfort zone. So that means that we will have a financial literacy class, no one shows up. We'll have food pantries, people are just there just to get, but we'll say, hey, would you like to volunteer, or just other things. My goal, my question would be how to change people's mindsets. Because as someone who has been in poverty and trauma, I know that it's very hard. And so I don't want to give judgment, but I want to kind of learn and how to get access to economic development as well, and just kind of get that narrative if you guys can kind of understand my question. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit nervous. So.
I'll take it. We run an after-school program in the Algonquin Park Hill neighborhood, and a lot of you know about that neighborhood. And we work with kids from 1st grade to 10th grade. We run a free after-school program, but to reach the kid, one of the things we do a family engagement night on Wednesdays, you know, and invite the parents and the kids, and we have engagement for the kids and also engagement for the parents about education programs. But I'll say also, one of our key things is our tutors, they are all Jefferson County Public School teachers. And that also brings value to the families that they know that their kids are being exposed, are being taught by teachers. And also, again, we tie in computers, robotic classes, STEM classes, and just various activities. But the key thing is getting parents involved. You know, and that they feel there's value in what you offer that's going to benefit their family.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to that real quick. So, you know, one of the things that we did as a company is we sponsored and paid for opening up 2 free computer labs. One we did at the Shawnee Community Center. And I believe you actually came and taught there before. And so what we did is we figured out real quick that kids like it when there's something that they are working towards, right? And typically that has to be something that they either really want or that they really need in terms of either cash or in terms of, you know, the next new system or game that just came out, right? That they know that they can't necessarily afford, right? And so what we did is we did the whole training, and we did everything. We did AI, we did basic computer skills, we did some financial literacy. But what we did is we kept records, and we said, hey, you know, if you complete this program, right, and at the end of this program, there is some benefit that is going to come back to you, right? So we're trying to tie putting in the work to the reward, right? And when we first started, we didn't do that. But once we initiated that, we had like a 80-90% complete rate. I mean, and this is with kids having to go home and do homework and having to do different reports or whatever it is. But man, you talking about, you know, we say, well, I think the last one we did at the end of the program, we gave every kid that participated $250 at the end of the program, right? And we timed it to be right around when school was coming back, right? So we knew that they were going to want the new clothes, they were going to want the new Jordans, they were going to want, you know, the I don't know if y'all seen backpacks, but now they $100, right, for the ones that they really want, right? So I think my point is that we have to meet kids where they're at, and we have to incentivize them, because so far what they have seen, right, is we have pushed this, you know, education, degree, this, that, and the other, and then they see people that have all of that still in their community, still living no different than what they lived before they left, right? So they're thinking to themselves, why am I putting myself in debt, right? Why am I going through all of this? And there's nothing on the end of it that is going to change what my current circumstances is, right? And so we have to understand, and this is a little bit elongated, but we have to understand that our kids are paying attention, right? That your kids are paying attention. So the things that we think that they don't know about, or the things that they, you know, had just flown over their heads, right? It really hasn't, right? These kids are so super intelligent just because they've been exposed to stuff a lot sooner, a lot quicker, right? And have access to it a lot more than what we ever thought was even possible, right? They're all walking around with many computers in their hand, which is their cell phone, right? If it's an iPhone, it's even more so, right? So we have to understand that the way that we are going about changing the trajectory of our kids has to be tied into the social environment and the social experiences that they have had. And the way, at least one of the ways that we have found to be successful, is to tie that into an outcome that is different than what they've been exposed to. It's not just do it because you should do it, right? Do it because at the end of the day, there's going to be something on the other side for you.
Yeah. Bless you. Thank you. My name is James Elliott, and I'm chairman of the Descendants of American Slaves Ministerial Alliance. You make a big point about economic mobility. Jasmine showed us charts that showed blacks or descendants of American slaves, how they have relatively stayed still, not moved upward with wealth and a very economic upward movement over the years. Now, Mr. Matthews, you mentioned, and I agree with you, that billions of dollars have been spent in our community, and black contractors. In the past, we saw an upsurge of them participating in developments. But of late, and especially recently, when the affirmative action was dropped, and I think DEI now dropped, instead of going up, I think black contractors and descendants of American slaves in generally will economically go down. There is a way and there's a reason for this. And with the billions of dollars that have been spent in construction, now I've been around here for a few years. I've been here since, I guess, 68. And I watched Carter Home being redeveloped. I watched Bix being developed, Southwick, and now Beecher Terrace. Now, I was a minority business owner, but there was nothing I could do hardly except through the 8A program, which was a federal program, get a contract not in Louisville, Kentucky, but way down in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to provide work for my business, laying floors. But I'm surprised that men like, did you say you're a developer? And in many states other than Kentucky. Who is it responsible, or who should be responsible for ensuring that black contractors will have an equitable part of development when these billions of dollars are being spent? And I'll stop.
That's a great question, and thank you for that, right? Yeah, you know, I'm originally not from Louisville, okay? So I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. And I came here specifically to study development because I met a young lady, and she was doing free tutoring in West Louisville, and she was doing it at a adaptive reuse school known as Shawnee Gardens. And I met the developer, who was a black developer by the name of Clifford Turner, who, God rest his soul, just passed away less than a month ago, right? And Mr. Turner exposed me to real estate development. And I asked him, I said, you know, if I move here and you don't have to pay me anything, right? I'll work with you all day, and don't worry about how I'm going to support my family and meet the goals that I had. But I just need you to show me this, right? Because immediately when I met him, I saw a path and a way not only to affect my own family's future and legacy, but to be very impactful in my community, right? On a number of different ways, right? And so I started down that path. And that was in 2017. So I just celebrated I just celebrated my 8th year of starting this company. And since then, you know, I'm a recipient of a 9% tax credit with Kentucky Housing Corporation, right? So I'm doing 80 units of senior housing in Hopkinsville, Kentucky right now. But going through the system, and to answer your question directly, right, is that the systems are devised in such a way that it is almost impossible for us to get in the system or get access to capital. And what I mean by that, I'll give you just one quick example. Kentucky Housing Corporation, the way the guidelines are written, is that you cannot even access 9% or 4% tax credits, which is the principal financial model used to develop any affordable housing, right? But you cannot access that unless you have already been awarded one. So I'm gonna say that again louder for the people in the back. The principal financial vehicle to fund affordable housing is what's known as tax credits. There is a 9% tax credit, there is a 4% tax credit. When you look at any project, including the Eclipse that just had a grand opening yesterday, including the project that is down by University of Louisville, all the major affordable housing developments up and down Cane Run Road, all of those, if you look at the financial structure in the capital stack, have 9% or 4% tax credits. That is a federal program that comes out of the federal government that is allocated to states based on population and census. So the amount of money that you get is directly tied to the number of people that are in your community, right? That is allocated by Kentucky Housing Corporation, right? So within those guidelines for Kentucky Housing Corporation, you cannot get access to those dollars unless you have already done a 9% or 4% tax credit. Well, what's inherently wrong with that, right? Inherently, if you're not already in the group, you're not getting in the group, right? So it's baked in the cake, right? It is what it is. And so what we have to do, and I agree, is that we have to be heavily involved in policy, but we also got to be willing to take it on the chin, right? We have got to be able to say that no matter how hard this gets, no matter how difficult they try to make it, I never got into this thing for the money. I got in it to make a difference and to create a path and to open up a door so that people can see why we are not elevating when the money is there. You can't spend $1 billion in my community and not point to one instrumental Black company that is now better, stronger, growing, and advancing because of those dollars that were invested. And if you cannot do that based on that amount of money being spent, then we all have to understand that something ain't right.
Thank you. Thank you. Really quick, we're going over on time. I know people are hungry right now.
I'll make this 1 minute or less, and I had to answer both of you questions. So, starting in the real estate industry and pathways, I started talking to my advisors, and you have to understand also that different entities control that too, like the Port Authority, okay, for developments and so forth. So, if the city wants to develop something else, and the Port Authority says no, it's not going, even if you have a signatory signed from the owners, okay. So, there's to back him and what he's saying. It's down to who you know and that human capital, right? For example, we have a duplex under contracts. One of our contractors is cousins of an insurance adjuster for FEMA. Well, you know what his cousin said? His cousin said FEMA right now is not only, once you have the property, they will put tenants inside of that property, 4 units and above, and pay for those tenants to stay there up to 5 years. So what owner doesn't want that? But here's the thing. It has to be residents that have endured flood, right? Or in a flood area. Well, do you know that the whole Jefferson County by data is a whole flood area, even though everything isn't flooded? So those are tiny things you have to know by human capital that I wouldn't know right now. So now I can put in a package to our investors to say, hey, here's a hot deal, but also if you want a little extra funding, here's what FEMA's doing. Here's what the small developer fund's doing. And then to you, ma'am, with the Change Tomorrow, I would say understand your audience and gamify it, and then create rewards directly to a Kroger card, Walmart card, to keep them coming back, and sustainability, because they might not be getting things like food stamps. So those direct things, reward system.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyler Baker. I'm actually from Louisville, Kentucky, so it's actually good to be back. I live in Cincinnati now. I know that we have some financial services individuals up here, well seasoned and working in the greater Louisville area. I'm actually in financial services. You actually talked about a little bit earlier on building rapport. Since you've been seasoned in the Louisville area, what tips would you give a young gentleman like myself in order to help build this community? It looks like everybody in this room that's the main initiative, right? Is to help build this community, push it to the right endeavors. So that's my question.
I guess the first thing I tell people is initially, get out of debt. Address your debt. Pay extra on your household or on your mortgage principal. Pay down your credit cards. Try to pay down your card payment quickly. Always have emergency savings, $1,000, $10,000, $20,000. And then get in your 401k, at least put 10% in it. If you don't have a 401k, do an IRA or do a Roth, tax-free. And the only thing I can say, when I first started 26 years ago, African Americans were spending about $350 billion. Now they spend $1.5 trillion. So how do you leverage your capital or educate your money that you have a better financial future?
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. We're a little bit over time. I know people are probably hungry, but I would love for, since this conversation was built around the Rotary Peace Positivity, could you close us out, Rick, with just final words?
Happy to. That's important. But we've heard today that prosperity is greatly facilitated by peace, and it facilitates peace. It's interactive. The two cannot be separated. Now, as you learn more about this complicated topic, as Jasmine suggested to us, of peace, there are a lot of different aspects of it. The organization that Rotary has been working with, the Institute for Economics and Peace out of Australia, basically identified two very different kinds of peace. It's called negative peace, which is just the absence of violence or the fear of violence. And we all know that's important for being able to have a good business. If your customers are afraid to come, if your workers are not comfortable in your business, there's not going to be peace there, and you're not going to really be doing well. Maybe you're doing something for the investors, but it's not helping the community. And then positive peace, that set of attitudes and institutions and situations that really contribute to our ability to work, learn, share, and be inquiring throughout our community. Some years ago, I heard an educational consultant talk about why Kentucky seems to be backwards in an awful lot of areas. He said he asked people about it, and the answers that he tended to get back was, education is what they did to me in high school. I didn't like it then, I don't want any more of it. And that will keep us set back always if we do not focus on new connections, new learning, whenever we have the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the panel. Great discussion.
Let's give our distinguished panel a rousing applause. This was awesome. Thank you, Robert. Awesome job as moderator. Let's give him a hand. This panel, I got to say a little bit of something about each member of this panel because they each connect with me on a very different level. Certainly, Brother Edwin Fox, I know we go back over 30 years, and I still say his slogan that he taught me 30 years ago, you got to learn how to exercise your money. And then I heard him say today, you got to educate your money. So he's the guy, if you want money, management issues, he's your guy. Brother Kendrick, it's a pleasure to meet you, the exercise coach. Welcome to Rotary and welcome to what we do here. Rick, thank you. The father of the Rotary Club, I call him the general because he commands attention everywhere he goes. He's a wonderful guy. And Brother Matthew, thank you for carrying on the legacy of our dear friend, Brother Clifford Turner, as a developer. And certainly you're always welcome here. And we want you to know how much we appreciate what you do. Save this young man for last because Charles Burns, I met him when he was about 8, 9 years old. He was a protege of mine over at the Urban League. And I remember, he was one of those kids, grew up in the Russell neighborhood. And as you saw today, he's always been high energy. And I don't know if you remember the day we sat down after you had gotten yourself in a little bit of heat with some people. I said, Charles, you're either going to be extremely successful as a leader or you're going to be extremely unsuccessful. And I thank God you took the pathway to being positively successful. So thank you. Thank you. Folks, it's time to eat. Lunch is going to be served. We're going to take about a 30-minute break. Please hang with us for the balance of today because we're going to go through a series of breakouts where we need each of our breakout sessions to be filled. We've got 5 breakouts. We need you to be a part of the discussions. In each one, this is where all of you would have a chance to have a voice on what goes on. But between now and about the next 30 minutes, enjoy a lunch. Thanks to our team that made it happen. Okay? Let's take about a 30-minute break, and we're going to reconvene right here, right after that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a segment of our summit where we begin to discuss the issues in a little bit more of a granular fashion. The purpose behind a summit here for us at LCCC is to empower our community to have voice. One by one, each individual who shows up has an opportunity to have their voices heard on the issues. The first part of the morning, beginning with our keynote speaker, was to give us really a broad perspective on the issues that we're here to convene about, which is wealth building and achieving prosperity through peace. And I thought we had a phenomenal presentation by Jasmine Presley. So let's congratulate her and thank her one more time. She's still here. And so she gave us her personal testimony, but also gave us some history and some factual representation of what she's gone through and what she's helping other people to go through when it comes to wealth building and money management. And then the panel discussion led by Robert Byers gave us some experts who have demonstrated a success in each of their respective fields around wealth in different ways. So great job with the panel. But this part of it is we want everybody here to have a voice. So I want to do two things. I'm acting on behalf of my friend, my best friend, who's here, Herbert Johnson. He's our MC, but he asked me to keep it going, get us caught up. But we're going to have 5 breakouts, and we've got 5 distinguished facilitators of those breakouts. Robert Byers III will be facilitating a breakout on mission, objectives, and key results, AKA called the MOKR, which is all about goal attainment, helping individuals to set goals and to pursue those goals. So Robert, stand up so everybody can see who you are. Robert Byers will be facilitating that. And then Rhonda Jones, who just came back into the room over to my right, your left, who's with the Small Business Development Center, is going to be talking about how money works. And she's in Suite 129. Robert's going to be in the atrium, right outside the double doors, going into the atrium. Rhonda is going to be over in our Business Intelligence Center, Suite 129, which is over on the Business Plaza. And then we have Ashley Johnson, who's here, right here. Ashley is going to be presenting, she is representing Derby Week Boutique. She's going to be talking about online business development. So we're honored to have her here as well. And then we got a taste of what we're going to hear from Charles Burns. He was one of our panelists earlier, but he is an expert in cryptocurrency. If you heard him talk about all of that, that work that he's involved in. You stand up, Chuck. He's going to be presenting, and he's going to be in our classroom right across the hall. And then last but not least, we've got Dr. Kathleen Gosser and Annie Neil Wadley, both from the University of Louisville, is going to be providing an introduction to franchising, and they are standing right there. But before we do that, and there's going to be a little logistical thing that we got to go through because we've got 5 different breakouts, and we're going to have opportunity for each one of you to experience 2 of them. So they're going to be 45-minute sessions. So I think we're just going to have to go through a process of doing a 1 to 5 count off. And the number 1 is going to be Robert's class, goal attainment. Number 2 is going to be Rhonda's class, how money works. Number 3, Ashley on online business development. Number 4, Charles Burns on cryptocurrency. And number 5, intro to franchising. And so when we do the count off, whatever your number is, you go to that classroom, and then you're only going to get a 45-minute experience before you get a chance to rotate to the next one. So the next one can be the one of your choice, right? And so we want to make sure that all of our classes are filled with at least 4 or 5 people so we can have some good hearty discussion. Now, before we do that, I do want to do a quick little infomercial here because you all have seen today we have a strong partnership with Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm honored to be a Rotarian serving on the board of directors of the club. Our club president was here earlier. We still have Rotarians here. Rick Hartnett did a phenomenal job as a panelist, and he was the inspiration as we were engaged in our planning discussion at Rotary to talk about this peace agenda. So I want to thank him for bringing that forward. But one of the other things we did with Rotary a few years ago was we opened up our Business Intelligence Center. And because of that, we have carried on that program, and we have several of our BIC advisors that are here. And I want to recognize them at this point because our BIC advisors work with our staff year-round, organizing and implementing programs that are aimed at empowering our community around these issues. And I see several faces here. I'm not going to start calling names, but I'm going to ask you all to stand up. If you're a BIC advisor, please stand up because this group is really responsible for organizing this event along with our team. So stand up, if you will. Keisha Allen, Janice Balding Gutter, Matthew Hurl, Robert Byers, Ashley Johnson, Rhonda Jones over here, Sharon Johnson as well, And I don't have a list in front of me because I know I'm overlooking, but they work with our team, and we want to make sure that Richard Ballard, Richard, you're on that group. Richard's one of our founding members, he and Keisha, as they were working with city government. But I wanted you all to know and hear from one of our testimonials, individual who we worked with in our partnership with the Louisville Urban League through their Mature Worker program of the Urban League. We were able to bring in Maggie Bailey. And Maggie was with us when we first started the BIC work, and she was our receptionist, and she's right here. So I want you to come on up on the stage, Maggie, because I want you all to see what the experience of being a part of this BIC has done for her as she advances herself through entrepreneurship. And she is an author. She's written a book. The book is called The Envelope. And I'm gonna ask you all to listen to her 2-minute testimonial on how this business venture came as an inspiration from the work that she's doing here as a part of our BIC. Come on up, Maggie.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank God. I want to thank the Louisville Urban League for being the platform in my life that allowed me to understand the importance of being a senior. Herb was the main ingredient in the Business Intelligence Center, and he encouraged me. he encouraged me to write my book, and I want to thank Miss Deborah Grant. She's been a great mentor in my life and has allowed me to grow in many ways, but I'm supposed to be talking about my book, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it so I can move on. My book is called The Envelope, and it has to do with addiction that affects every area of my life, and drugs was just a symptom. But after the drugs were removed, I was left with me. And through the 12 steps, I was able to find a personal relationship with God. And I was able to go within to be able to deal with addiction, because it's a threefold disease. It's obsession, which is a persistent, often unreasonable ideal or feeling. It's compulsion. One is too many, 1,000 never enough. It could be a bag of potato chips. It could be love. It could be, the list goes on and on. But then the core of it is the total self-centeredness. And being in the Louisville Central Community Center, I've had an opportunity to find myself. I've had an opportunity to know the importance of having confidence. I came here through the Urban Senior Job Program looking for a way out. And I did, and I found it here. And so as I look at my book, I look at how I've transformed to be not only a beacon of hope, but hope for myself. And so to sum it all up, I thank the Louisville Urban League.
Amen. Thank you, Maggie. And you inspire us every day to continue the work that we do in partnership with the League and so many other collaborators, so thank you. All right, so we're gonna get into this breakout session. Herb, you wanna come up and help? We're gonna organize this in a way that each one of you will get 2 sessions. The first one, you're gonna, through the luck of the draw, be drawn to. All the sessions are gonna be great. Each one of the sessions, you're gonna get a short presentation followed by a group discussion. Each moderator, facilitator is going to ask you some questions that each one of you would have an opportunity to have a voice on. I do want you to know our goal is to record each one of those sessions because we do use these opportunities as data collection opportunities as we hear the voices, and we use that to empower us to do a report out to the community and to all of our stakeholders as well. So, if I can get all 5 of our facilitators to come up to the front, Robert, Ashley, Rhonda, Dr. Gosser, Charles Burns. I'm going to assign each one of them a number. We do need the U of L team in here, if you don't mind getting them. David, you're closest to them. So we're going to give them a number. Robert is number 1. He's always number 1. Robert's number 1. Rhonda's number 2. Ashley's number 3. She's over there by the team. Charles is number 4. And the U of L team, Dr. Gossner and Annie are number 5. So we're going to do a count off starting here. And as I point to you, you're going to call the number starting from 1, going to 5. And then whatever number you end up with, you follow the respective facilitator. Y'all got it? Anybody need to know the numbers again? Robert's number 1, Rhonda's number 2, Ashley's number 3, Charles Burns is number 4, and Team U of L is 5. Okay, here we go. I had to give you the Steve Harvey look. The second one you go to will be of your choice, okay? Your number? 1. All right. Starting over?
1, 2, 3. 1.
5. Simpson?
1, 2, 3. 4.
1. 4. All right. Jermaine, 1.
2.
David, you in? We're doing breakouts. Everybody has an opportunity. You 2, David.
4.
All right, we got enough to go with. Anybody else? Follow your facilitator to their breakout. 45 minutes. 45 minutes. 3's going to stay right here. So thank you for those who are still here. I think this has been a very important day, a very impactful day, a lot of great information, a lot of fellowship and networking. And we promise to distill all of this information that's been collected into an impact statement as we commemorate this summit event. Normally, it's customary when we close out the session here of an event like this, where we go out into breakout sessions and we have dialogue, that we like to recap what was discussed and kind of the highlights of the learning. And we may do an abbreviated version of that because I know all the facilitators are not still here and all of the breakout participants are not still here. But for those of you that are here, we certainly want to give some time to recognize you for what you've learned. So we had 5 breakouts, I want to acknowledge them once again. Goal attainment, the MOCA concept, Robert Byers III, Woodforest National Bank, How Money Works, Small Business Development Center, Rhonda Jones. Online business development, I've already got great feedback on Ashley Johnson's work, as we normally would. Cryptocurrency, Charles Burns with his consulting and development company, and intro to franchising. So I think those are 5 hot topic areas that really give us various pathways to wealth and hopefully prosperity through peace as well. So for those who sat through that, let me see a show of hands. What'd you think? Any volunteers that want to come up and kind of summarize highlights from what we just learned, just for the record? All right, Brother Matt, come on up. Yeah, well, you can sit down. As long as you're on camera. Yeah, you want to get over to the center so you can get on camera.
Right there? All right, good. So I participated in the 7 fundamentals of financial prosperity with Ms. Jones. She went through the 7 milestones of money because, as I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, it's not just important for the Black community to get access to more money, deploy more money, make more money, but then what do we do when we get the money, right? And she went over some very simplistic fundamentals about what to do when you do get money, how to invest it, how to protect it, how to think about the future when you're gone, and how that money can still play a major role in your legacy and for your family. And she broke it down really simply, and she did an excellent job, and I'm looking forward to actually using some of those principles that I learned.
Thank you. Anybody else? Donovan? Anybody? You never turned down a good speaking engagement.
Well, I was able to connect with the franchising breakout session, and we just did an introduction, but we did not complete the session. But it was also a good networking session because me and Ms. Presley are going to work together on setting up the session again so we can complete that session with some more of our business folks out here in the community so we can see how best we can generate some wealth through prosperity and peace through franchising. And so I look forward to working with you and look forward to hearing back on how we're going to host this session and make it, extend this to what we're doing here, really making for prosperity for ourselves and our community. Thank you.
I want to thank Donovan for longstanding collaboration. He always reminds us when we do events like this that we've always got to think about what we're doing after. And so he's reminding us of that again today. It's all about coming together, but also taking action as a result of what we've learned. Charles Simpson, I see you here. Any closing comments? Come on up, you gotta be on the camera. Charles and I go way back to high school days, so call him out.
I was in the young lady right here, Miss Johnson. She was teaching about online business. I mean, it was a wealth of knowledge. She kind of gave me ideas about doing, I think that's probably, when you look at AI and all this data and how, where you see the future is going, I think that's going to be the most lucrative business around. It's going to be online and with the, like I say, internet and reaching out to millions. She had told me, she had mentioned she had millions of customers and yeah. I mean, millions of followers. I'm sorry, followers. Yeah, she went viral. Right. That's what it is. I'm learning all this. This is kind of new to me. I'm an old dude, so. But yeah, I'm kind of excited and interested in looking at thinking about starting an online business. So hopefully I can reach out to them and learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you. Excellent. Janice, you know I'm looking your way. Come on up here. Janice Baldwin Gutter, who I've known much of my life. Can you come up? Oh, we take it to her. Take it to her. Yeah, there you go. Need to get her on camera, though. Oh.
I'm not a Facebook Live person or a camera person.
But you're gonna be the more you get into your online business.
But this is one of the best ones I've been to, ever. It's direct, it was quick. Yes. This is one of the best ones I've been to, and I don't play. It was direct, it was succinct, and it needs to be directed more toward adults also. They are best one I've been to. Okay, I'm very happy. There are a couple of others that are going to go on, and I'm going to take some of these tips with me. We grew up together. We grew up across the street from Meacham Terrace. And I'm not a camera person. I see Facebook Live, I think it's the worst thing to happen to some people. But I'm very happy that I made the time to be here today. And I don't play, you know me. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled. And she has inspired me to go ahead and get off the kitchen table and get moving, okay? And he inspired me to find out more about crypto, because I knew nothing other than I thought it was a scam. But it's not. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. As Janice said, I'm not going to date her, but, I know I moved in Beach Terrace in the 60s, and her brother, Virgil, and I became great friends, and she was a heck of a big sister. She kept all of us in line, and still doing it today. So thank you. So this has been great. We're going to wrap up with that. Thank you all for being here. Steve, thank you for holding it down. My brother from the Rotary Club. We got any other Rotarians that I'm overlooking. I have to plug Rotary because they the wind behind our wings, giving us the seed money to raise the rest of the money we need to produce an event like this. And they've done it for 4 years in a row. So thank you to the Rotary Club. Thank you to all of our other sponsors, Walsh Construction, great partnership there. Humana, Healthy Horizons, Waterfront Park, that I'm proud to serve on their board as well as the board secretary. And Metro United Way, longstanding support of our mission. Over 50 years of support comes from the United Way. Angels Envy, thank you for your support. One West, a great partnership. They've supported us multiple years here as well as the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So please give all of our sponsors a hand. We certainly appreciate them. Appreciate everybody that undergirded this. The planning committee of this event, our big advisors, all of you know who you are by name, so thank you to our big advisors. We're going to start planning for next year. It was this time last year when we were wrapping up the Health Equity Summit when we said we're going to go from health to wealth. And so we've covered that today. And so we're going to figure out what the 10th year will look like, but with your help, we will figure that out. I certainly, again, want to thank our team, our staff at LCCC, our board of directors, and I thank all of our people who made this program work. I don't know where my friend Herbert Johnson is, but he's the MC of this event and doing it 2 years in a row, so I want to thank him. Thank all of our presenters today. We had a keynote for the ages, Jasmine Presley. We're going to replay that video over and over to get all the insights out of that we can. And Janice, I don't know about you. You said you're not into Facebook Live, but Jasmine is. And Jasmine, in our studio yesterday at WLV, she was our special guest. Russell on the Move, every Thursday morning at 9 a.m., Herbert Johnson and I produce Russell on the Move. And she did a Facebook Live in the studio. And I seen that it got a good buzz, so thank you for that. And thank you for being a great speaker. Great panel discussion moderated by Robert Byers III. A phenomenal job of facilitating. Charles Burns, Kendrick Porter, Edwin Fox, Rick Harnett, and Matthew Harrell. Thank you all for that. The breakouts, we recorded each one of them. A lot of great discussion we know went on, but I'll be committed because I'm a nerd for this kind of stuff. I'll listen to every one of those to see what we can get out of it and make sure that we can process a good report. So thank you, guys. That's all we have for today. Thank you, appreciate it. And we'll close out with that. Any ministers in the house? Anybody got a burning desire to close us out in prayer? Come on, Reverend.
Father God, we thank you for who you are, what you've done, and what you're doing. We ask that you will enlighten us and show us more of our identity of sons and daughters of the Most High God, that we will move by your wisdom and show the glory, and move by the wisdom and the knowledge that we have to represent your glory here now, Father, that we begin to take action to represent not only you, but to serve the people here on the earth, Father, and also to set things that's not right and put it back into right place, Father, and that you are using our eyes, using our hands to see and to speak and to move whatever needs to be done here and now, and that we will pass on to the generation or dominion and wealth that which you have set in place as here as God's underneath you, Father. So we thank you. We always give you glory. We always give you praise to bring you glory forever and ever. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen. And my final word again is to acknowledge our staff. Debbie Grant, raise your hand. All this beautiful decor that you see is at her hands. Melissa Birch, raise your hand. She's our genius behind the scenes and making all the stuff come together and all the PowerPoint that you've seen. And she's been engineering everything from a technical standpoint over there, so thank you. Diane Clark, thank you. Raise your hand. Diane is our developer and PR person, and she's the face of a lot of what goes on in representing our organization. Sonia Reese, raise your hand. Sonia has been helping us to fundraise. Licardio, raise your hand. He's a logistics guy. He keeps everything going and set up here. And again, thank you, Herb, and thank you, everybody. And stay tuned for the production side of this. We want to thank Fred Lee Reynolds, Part 5 Media, and you'll be able to see this on the YouTube pretty soon. So thank you. That's all we're going to do today. God bless you.